Hey guys, how are you? So we are moving from Photoshop, which was a raster-based program which dealt with pixels, to Illustrator, which is a vector-based program which deals with points and paths and mathematical computations. So in Illustrator, that's where I am right now. That's the screen that you're looking at. So this is the home screen. Yours will look a little bit different than mine because you haven't been working on projects probably. But I work on projects almost every day. So um, this is Illustrator. It's the newest version of Illustrator, just like when we went through Photoshop. So some things have changed in here. So I did make sure I updated it, but if some things change, we'll be learning those things together. All right. So this is the basic screen for Illustrator. We're gonna go to, and again, you can see it looks pretty much the same as the Photoshop did. We're gonna go to Create New because one of the projects that you guys have to do this week, excuse me, or this module is to create a character. Pretty fun, right? It should be pretty fun, and pretty simple to do. Now I say that because I work in Illustrator. I get it. It might not be as simple, but some of you have worked with it before, which is kind of cool, which is going to help you as well. So for this, we're going to choose art and illustration because that's what we're doing. We're creating an art and illustration project, right? So I'm going to choose art and illustration. As far as size, we'll go with, let me think, we'll go with the 1920 by 1080, which is one of the preset defaults. However, you guys know that if it was a size that was outside of here, you could pretty much set your size over here. But we're going to choose the art and illustration 1920 by 1080. And as we see, it's already set in points. And I'm going to go ahead and name this. We'll just name this character, or I'm just going to name it character demo. You guys can name it whatever you like. All right. So, and everything else is the same. Artboards, we're going to stick with one for now. But just know that artboards are pretty much different sheets of paper, right? So if you're working with paper, that's what they would be. So different sheets of paper. So we're working with just one artboard. But if you had two sheets of paper that you're working with, it'd be two artboards, three sheets of paper that you'd be working with, would be three artboards, and so forth and so on. So artboards, I just like to think of it as your sheets of paper. Color mode, we're going to go ahead and keep it in RGB, even though in print, we can choose CMYK. Typically, you would talk to your printer just to see. For this one, since it's for screen, we're going to go to 72. We're going to go ahead and keep it at 72 PPI. But if this was for print, of course, we would go with the 300 PPI. And then preview mode default, all of that's fine. But if you needed more settings, you would click on more settings. And this will pop up. And this menu, especially as you advance in Illustrator, will be important to you, especially as you add more artboards and things like that. You can kind of work, you can choose the flow of the artboards, have your columns, just spacing, all that fun stuff. But for now, we're good where we are. So let's just choose create document. All right, so when we create a document, the document opens and we have this slate. Typically, I meant to go portrait with this, but we'll just keep it as is for now. But this might be an opportunity, though, to show you guys how to change it. So I'm going to click on properties. You guys see properties. And I'm going to click on edit artboard. Okay, so we went to properties, edit artboard. So if you ever need to edit your artboard, this is how you name it. This is how you edit it. One of the things that I want to do, where it says name, artboard 1, we're going to name this one character. And whatever your name of your character is, you can name it that. It doesn't matter. Just make sure you name it. The preset for this, just so you know, it says Pixel 2. But if I had mine set for iPhone, I can set it for that or any phone. I'm just going to keep it there, even though I don't have a Pixel. Yeah, whatever. All right, so another thing we can do right here where it says, where you guys see the portrait and landscape, I told you guys I meant to do portrait, so I can click on portrait and it would switch it to portrait. Because portrait just gives you more room to work with your character. Now you can keep yours at landscape if you want. You would just click here, but I'm going to keep mine at portrait. And then Artboard Options. This will give you additional options for your artboard, but for now we're cool, so I'm just hit exit. And then notice it's too big. I'm gonna hit Command 0, and then Command 0 will bring this down. Now, if I'm looking at this as I am, and I'm like, I feel like that's gonna be too much, right? Maybe I want a square. Then I'm gonna go back to Edit Artboards, right? Here. And then maybe now instead of that 1080, maybe I'll say making sure that this is unlinked. So if this is not dark, that's what that link is, then you can change this to whatever you want. So for height, I might change that to either 1080 and see how that looks. I'm gonna hit tab. Or I might change it if I wanted it to be a little bit longer, which I kind of do. Maybe I'll go with 1200 tab and look how that looks. Or what have you. I might say maybe 1400 tab. And actually, I'm happy with that. So I made mine 1080 by 1400, and I'm going to choose exit. So you have options. I'm going to hit Command 0 so I can get it. Okay. And I kind of like that. Okay. So then I hit Command minus one time, just so that I can shrink it down just a little bit, so that I can see all of my area. But this is the default. This is Essentials default. If yours doesn't look the same, or if mine looks a little different than yours, I'm just going to reset mine just to make sure. So I'm going to go over here to where I see the word Essentials, and I'm going to click Reset Essentials. Excuse me. My allergies acting up. I'm so sorry. And so now what this brings us into is Illustrator. Illustrator interface, similar to Photoshop, some differences, of course, with it being a different program. But we have our home tool, just like we did in Photoshop. The home tool is the first one. Photoshop is the move tool. And this one, our home tool, is the selection tool. This is the tool that we're going to go back and forth with. The selection tool allows us to grab everything, right? All points, all paths that sit on our document, the selection tool will let us grab. Images, whatever we bring, the selection tool is our friend to bring that stuff in. Then we have the direct selection tool, which is going to allow us to bring in specific points. I won't bore you with all the details of all the tools, but we'll get to them as we go. And we have the pen tool. This is going to be our friend. We're going to be using the pen tool a lot. Then we have the curvature tool, which we probably won't use until next class, rectangle tool, so forth and so on, shape builder tool, these tools we're going to use. But what's interesting is down here, we have our, so in Photoshop, we had our foreground color and background color. Remember, the foreground color, it was solid filled, and the background color was solid filled and black and white. Remember, we used it to mask and all that. But in Illustrator, it's a little different. So in Illustrator, we have our fill and our stroke. So the white is our fill, that's right here, the one that's on top, and the one that's in the back, that's going to represent our stroke. Okay, so it's a little different. And then we have some tools down here. These deal with our color, and gradient and none, a fill of none or a stroke of none. And then we have our drawing tools, which we will be using those, screen modes, and a way to edit the toolbar as well. And then over here to the right, we have our panels. So it's a little more simplistic than Photoshop. In here, the properties panel is everything. It is awesome. It pretty much has every tool that we use. It's context sensitive, which is cool. Then we have our layers and our library. So this pretty much is our standard simple default. And then up here we have our workspace. We can search Adobe stock. If you needed tips or questions or help, you have here. And then you have, the home button and the documents, like arrange documents button. And then of course up here, we have our menu and stuff like that. And the menu looks different than it does in Photoshop. You'll get used to it the more we go. Okay, so that pretty much is a quick scan of the workspace. We're going to create a character, so we're going to learn as we create. So creating a character, several things can happen. We are going to go to this shape tool, right? So anytime you see this white tear off or this white little arrow, that's telling you that there are more tools underneath. So if you hold the mouse, it will show you, reveal other tools that are inside of there. So we have ellipse, polygon, star, line segment, okay? And we're going to be using the ellipse, the rectangle, and the star tool a lot, especially with creating our character. So I'm going to just go ahead off the bat. I'm going to do a rectangle. Typically, I do the ellipse, but I'm going to make a character with like a totally different, for me, almost like a SpongeBob head, but different. So anyway, with the rectangle tool, I'm going to draw out a shape. So I'm clicking and I'm just taking my mouse to right or left or whichever way. So I'm just clicking and dragging to the right. You can hold shift if you want a perfect square, or if you don't want a perfect square, such as I do not, I'm just gonna go ahead and eyeball it to where I'm happy. And notice as I draw, I have this stroke and it's actually filled with white. You see that? It's filled. So if I wanted to go back to my selection tool and move it around, I can move it around, right? You guys see that? Too easy. Okay, so that's the selection tool. Selection tool is going to allow us to move around. Okay, it moves the whole thing. Then we have our trusty dusty direct selection tool. You guys see that? So that's the white arrow. So if I click that and I have some more options in there. The group selection tool, which will allow us to grab groups. Lasso tool allow us to select certain areas of our object. I'm going to go with the direct selection tool. And now what I'm going to do is, remember with the move tool, we moved everything. And notice how we have these points. These are the points. So just to explain this quickly, these are points, right? On the edges, everything that you see, they're called anchor points. So you might just see anchor. And then these are paths. So any lines or curves or whatever between the points are your paths. Okay. And that's how Illustrator works. So if I move this around right now, it's moving everything. And the reason it's moving everything is because every point is selected. You guys see that? But watch this. If I just click on one of these points, notice now one point is selected. Every other point is hollow. So that means I only have this one selected. So now if I move this around, I'm only moving that point. You guys see that? Too easy. I'm going to do it again just to make sure. So again, I had everything selected, right? So now everything's selected. I'm going to click off. Or actually, I'll just keep it selected. So everything is selected. And now I'm just going to grab one of the points. I'm just clicking. So now I grabbed one of the points, and I know that that's the only point because every other point is hollow. You guys see that? All right, so what we're going to do now, I'm going to move that around. And now I have a different shape. And maybe I want that to be like that and that to be like that. Maybe that's how I want my character's head to be. Maybe I don't want it to be like a normal head. Maybe that's a little too much though. Okay. Up a little bit more. Okay. So maybe this is how I want my character's head to be. So I have this head. I use the selection tool, direct selection tool. Boom. Now I might go with the shape tool and I might do another shape. So I want to make a triangle. So I have an option of the polygon or the star tool, right? So I'm going to choose the star tool. And with the star tool, if I click and drag, I'm making a star. You guys see that? If while I'm clicking and dragging and still holding the mouse down, I hold up arrow, I'm adding to the point of the star, right? So all I'm doing is the up arrow. That's all I did. I still have the mouse held down and I have the up arrow. I can undo that, right? And I can draw out a star again. And now I can choose the down arrow and I will be taking points away. Now, I didn't have to do that to take points away. I didn't have to let go. I'll let go so you guys can see me do it again. But I can go in either direction, up or down, right? And I can add to or delete. I'm trying to get to a triangle, so I'm going to go down until it's a triangle. So right now, it's a triangle, okay? And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my direct selection tool, selection tool, and I want it to be straight as possible. Okay, so maybe I want it like this. Okay, so this is going to be my shape, almost like a TV. It looks like a monitor. We'll call him Monitor Mouth. All right, so with the shape of my character, I kind of want something like this. Or maybe I want this to be his head, kind of like this. Okay. So maybe I want this to be his head. Okay. Now, mind you, I don't know what's going to happen with this character because I'm just, winging it, but we'll see. All right, so maybe I want this to be his head. Maybe I want more parts of his head, so I'm going to hold Alt and drag. So what Alt's going to do is going to duplicate that shape, and I'm just dragging it out. I might do it one more time over here. Okay. All right, so it's going to be some type of weird character. I don't know. Maybe this might be his hair. I'm not quite sure yet, but we'll see where it goes. But so this is my character. I'm going to move it over. And what I did was I just, with the black arrow, which is our selection tool, I'm just highlighting it all and just moving it over. All right. All right, so far so good. Maybe I'm thinking this might be a little bit too big. So what I'm doing now is I'm selecting this and I'm going to hold Option and Shift and just reduce the size of it just a little bit. Okay. All right. So I have this shape. This is going to be the main shape for my character. Okay. And what I want to do now, so we did the shape tool, we did the direct selection tool. I'm going to use the pen tool. So I'm going to click on the pen tool. And now the way the pen tool works, remember, it's all about points and paths. So if I click one time, and notice it's going to give me this line that's kind of showing me my path. It didn't always do that. That's something pretty recent, which is cool. So I can see my next path and I can click. And now what I've done is I've created 2 points and a path, right? So maybe, and then so maybe to get the next one, maybe I'll click again. And then maybe I'll click again. And then maybe I'll click again. Now, before I click though, notice I hover over it and I get the circle right under the pen tool. That means that I'm closing my shape. So you don't have your shape closed unless you get that circle and you're closing that path. So make sure, because I can accidentally click here thinking I closed it, but I haven't. Make sure you look at that circle and that tells you that you closed your path. So I have this path, okay? So, but what if I wanted to curve it, right? So I'm gonna click with the pen tool. And now what I'm gonna do, I just clicked one time, right? Now what I'm gonna do is before I, what do you call it? I'm gonna click, but before I let go, I'm moving the mouse either up or down in the direction. So I still have not clicked. I haven't let go of the click and I'm moving it around. So what you'll notice that I'm getting are control handles. That's what these are, right? They're control handles. And I can control the direction of my curve by these control handles. Now, what I like to think about, because that's what it matches, is math class when you used to do graphs and you had to do slopes and you had to determine, the slope based off of the graph, right? And that's what pretty much determined how high or high low that was going to get. So it's using the same principle, same exact. So I'm going to go, maybe I want to go here. And notice this direction is slanted slightly downward to the right, right? So now I can let go. And when I let go, I'll see another path telling me what's going to happen as I move and right before I click, but as I click this pen. So now if I click here, now I have this path and it's gone up in the curve, right? Because it continued the curve. And now I have another path, right? Now, if I wanted this to continue, right? I can continue it. Or if I want to end it here, I can end it, right? So let's just say I want to end this. And then, so now I have it ended, but now I'm like, oh, wait, that's kind of weird, right? That shape's going to be kind of weird. So here's the deal. While I have this plus, I can add points to it, or I can hit the minus sign. Let me get the minus sign. And I can subtract points. So I can add points with the plus or subtract points. So just so you know, you can add or subtract points to your line. But what I want to do is I'm going to go to the direct selection tool, and I'm going to click on this. And let's say I wanted to add, I wanted now my point to, I want to, sorry, words are hard. I want to manipulate my points, right? So if I click on a point, I can manipulate it. I can have it do all sorts of different things by just moving it. I can change like the shape of stuff and the direction that it goes into. So it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool, especially once once you have it down packed. So the next tool that I want to show you, and we haven't gone over the pen tool, everything that it can do, but for now, I think we should be okay. This anchor point tool. And with the anchor point tool, what it's going to allow you to do is if you hover over your path, it's going to allow you to manipulate the path. It's really manipulating the points, right? And the anchor points, and the slopes as well. But it'll allow us to manipulate this path. So now I can move this, and wherever I go, it's going to manipulate those points. So if I want to get a little more deeper in what we were doing, I'm able to do that. I can also convert. So see how this is what's called a corner point right now. This is called a corner point anchor. But if I click on it, notice I'm getting control handles. And now I have a little more control, right? So I can do this. So notice how this one only has a control point on one end, and then it has a point. I can click it and make it have a control point on two edges. It's kind of cool. Now, if I didn't want that, check out here where I see convert right here where it says convert. I can convert it back to a corner point, or I can convert to smooth point, which is what these are called. So I'm going to click it and notice how it converts to anchor point. Notice if I click it, it converts to a smooth point. So you have those options over here as well. You also have the option to remove anchor points from here, and you have the options to cut selected anchor points as well. So I'm going to, let's say with this one selected, I want to remove that anchor point. I can click on that and it removed the anchor point, okay? And then let's say I want to cut this point right here, so whatever point is selected, I can click on that and I can cut that point, and notice it goes away. Did you notice the little, words are hard tonight, but notice that the control handle went away, okay? So definitely play with that. I think there's a video to the pen tool that's going to go more in depth, but I don't want this video to be 8 hours for you guys, but just play with the pen tool. It is your friend. It is cool. And let's just suppose that I wanted this to be like maybe his bow tie or something like that. No, I'm stretching, guys. We'll see. And then, so I'm just moving stuff around. I'm going to hold Alt and Shift and move this in because maybe this is going to be his mouth. Yeah, maybe that's going to be his mouth. Okay. And then, so what I want to do next is I want to go to, so we did shape tool, pen. I can do the paintbrush, right? So I can brush with the paintbrush itself. So maybe I'll just, and it's pretty freeform, maybe we'll give him some eyebrows, that. This trackpad and me, we're going to be friends. It's just, there's just no ifs, ands, or buts about it. But maybe I'll give him some eyebrows. Typically, I would do this with the drawing tablet, but I am determined me and this trackpad are going to learn each other, all about each other. Okay, so maybe that's his eyebrows. That's horrible, but that's okay. That's all right, guys. All right, so maybe I can get some eyebrows, and then maybe I get my nose. Kind of really outlandish nose it is. What else? So I want to go over with you. Let's see. Shape builder tool. We're gonna get into that in a little bit. Gradient. We'll get into that when we get into the color blend. Okay. So let's say for this robot, right? So this is where I am with him. Now let's go over swatches. Yeah, let's go with swatches so that we can give some color and stuff to this. So I'm going to click on this triangle. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to over here to the appearance. You guys see it? And I'm going to click on fill. Now we have some default colors that are in here for us. But just know that you can go to this menu right here and you can go to Open Swatch Library and you can pick from other libraries if you want. And once you pick from other libraries, just for the heck of it, let's say I chose flowers. When you click, it's going to give you this other panel right here. Let me bring this down. And it's going to give you some additional colors and stuff to choose from. Now, with this, you can put these colors if you have the Swatches panel open. And if you ever want to know what the Swatches panel looks like, you can go up to Window. You can go down to Swatches. And then the Swatches panel will open for you. Okay, so you'll have both panels open. And let's say I wanted his hair to be like not necessarily a deep black, but maybe a black or purple or a purple. Okay, maybe I want that to be purple, and then maybe I want this one, and I'm just clicking and selecting color, and then maybe I want this one to be dark purple. Okay, so maybe I want something like that, and maybe for his face, I want it to be like orange, like that. And then maybe his mouth, I want to be like yellow like that. And then maybe this little, so all I'm doing is clicking and selecting color. So I didn't do anything crazy. Nothing for you guys to be like, oh, I don't know how to do that. And if you don't, just rewind it and watch it again. It's too easy. So maybe I want that. And I'm just rotating this a little bit. Let's see. Okay, and maybe I want something like that. Maybe for his eyes. Now, remember, I made this with the brush, so I didn't make this. This is not a full path, okay? So I'm going to hit Control++ so we can go in and see. This is not a full path. This is two paths. Let me move this in some. Two paths, right? So if I wanted these paths to be together, what I'm going to do is get my direct selection tool, and I'm going to select this one, and I'm going to hold shift and select this one. With those two selected, I'm going to go over here to my panel, and typically I thought join shows up, but if it doesn't, I can go up here to edit. I can go down to object. I can go down to path, and I can go to join, or I can hit Command J, okay? And what that's going to do is, as long as I have two endpoints selected, which I don't think I do, then it's going to join. So, but what else I need to do is I'm going to lock down. So notice this, we have not talked about layers. So notice I have layers. So the way Photoshop worked, every little thing that we did and we brought in, it gave us a different layer. Illustrator doesn't work like that. The way Illustrator works is it has its main layer and then a whole bunch of sub layers. Okay, so that's what you're seeing. You see the layer one, but you could be working on your entire design in one layer. So you want to be aware of that, because sometimes you can get down to thousands and thousands of sub layers. And sometimes that's uncontrollable. Some people like working like that, but some people don't. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lock this orange layer down so that I can just grab these 2 points, because that's all I want is those 2 points. And then I'm going to go up to object, path, and then join. And now it joined those two paths. So they're joined together. And if I wanted these two, again, I'm just taking the direct selection tool and I'm just drawing a small square over those two. And I want these two to join. So I'm going to go up to, or I can hit Command J, right? I can hit, or Control J, Command or Control J. Either one's going to work. If you're on a PC, it's Control. Mac, it's Command. And I can go to join and it'll join those two paths together. So now they're one. So now when I go to add color to this, I'm going to get the black arrow tool. Now I should be able to add color. Okay, you guys see that? Too cool. So the same thing's going to happen over here. When I go to try to add color, I have all these different paths. And matter of fact, I might get rid of that one. And I might take and try to bring this one as close to this one as I can. So I'm just clicking on that one point and I'm just moving it up with the mouse just so that they're right next to each other. Okay. So now I can grab on those 2 points and I can go to Command or Control J and it'll join those points. And now I want these 2 points. I'm gonna grab on this one and I want them a little closer together. Oops. Thought I had it, but I didn't. I'm gonna grab this point and bring these two closer together. And now I'm going to select both of those and I'm going to hit Command or Control J. And now I have one image. So now when I click on it with the black selection tool, I'm clicking on the whole thing. And maybe I'll make his eyes these purple. And then I'm going to be happy with that, right? I don't know that I want it purple anymore because now it matches too much his bow tie. So I might make him blue. Weird eye guy. All right. So then for this nose, which I was just playing around with, notice it's an open path. So when I put color in it, the path is open. It's not a closed path. So it's not closing up the nose. So it kind of looks kind of weird. See that? So I'm going to fix that and just a shake, but just know that pretty much. So this is my character so far. Pretty horrible, I know, but it's okay. But this is him. Now, all right, so that was pretty much just to show you the shapes and the tools and how they, and to show you color and how it works together. So I'm going to delete this because this is not my shape that I want to do. Notice how I deleted it and the orange is still here. Well, that's because I still have that locked. Okay, so if I unlock it, then I can delete it. All right, so what I'm going to do is now I'm going to get into my actual character. So I'm going to do a circle. Okay, and I kind of want like I guess the character that I want, kind of want almost like a big head up top and then a smaller head down below. So with the circle selected, I'm going to hold I'm going to hold Option or Alt, and I'm going to bring this down a little bit. Okay, so I duplicated it, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold Option and Shift, and I'm going to make this a little bit smaller because that's kind of the head that I want. So I'm going to change the color just so you guys can see what happens. All right, so what I want to do now is I'm going to combine these two shapes to be one shape. So I'm going to select them both. Okay, the first thing is to select. Remember, select it to affect it. And I'm going to go over here to Shape Builder, right here, this tool, New Tool Alert. And when I hover over, you guys will see how the Shape Builder there's like a mesh almost, right, to it. So what it means is anything that I do is going to affect whatever area is selected. So if I wanted to combine these, I just draw pretty much into them and it's combined. It's one shape. Okay. But if I wanted to subtract a part of this, I can hold Option or Alt down and I can click and I just subtracted a part of this. Sometimes you'll do this to get like a certain shape. Like let's say you wanted this shape and this shape, you know what I mean? So you'll get like the half moon or whatever. So I definitely encourage you guys to play with this because you can get some really, really cool stuff. So I'm going to go ahead and combine that because that's kind of the shape that I want. It's funny that it's yellow and I mentioned Tweety. that was not my intent, but it just worked out like that. So I'm okay. Let me see. Oops. Well, that was crazy. All right. So what I'm gonna do is you know what? I might make a character similar to Tweety. At least his face. Let me see. But I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what I want to do. All right. So now I have this little face. It's not Tweety though, because Tweety's cheeks come out a little bit. But anyway. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead and make another shape. And for this one, I'm gonna use the lips. And I want like an eye that goes like this. But I want it a little wider. So I'm just pretty much doing a shape and I'm hovering over and it's giving me the arrow. So the arrow says, hey, look at me. Do something with me. Okay. I'm going to make I want the white to be white on the inside. So over here where I have my fill and strokes, I want a white fill. Making sure that's selected, and making sure that the fill is on top, because sometimes a stroke can be on top. Okay, and if the stroke's on top, then that's the only thing you're affecting. So if you want to affect the fill, you'll make sure the fill's on top. If you want to affect the stroke, you'll make sure the stroke's on top, and you just click it, and that's what makes it active. But I want the stroke to be on top. I'm going to choose white. Okay, and I think for the stroke, I do want to make it thicker. So I'm going to choose the stroke. I'm going to go to Properties panel. And right here, you should see stroke. And I'm going to make it just a little thicker, maybe about 3 or 4. Yeah, I like that. And what I'm going to also do is I'm going to go to stroke. And I'm such a fan of stroke on the outside. I'm also a fan of round cap and round join. But we'll take care of those later. I'm going to choose stroke to the outside. And notice it's going on the outside. And that makes me happy. Although in this case, it wouldn't have even mattered. But that's what I like. So that's what I went for. All right. So I'm going to go to stroke. Boom. Oh, I'm going to hit cancel. Okay. So now that I have that, I'm going to see if I'm happy with that. And I am. One thing I also noticed if I go to stroke is I'm noticing, or maybe it's my computer. I'm going to say I'm noticing the profile. It almost looks like there's a texture on the eye, but it might not be. Yep, no, it's not. It's just the draw. Okay. So I just hit Control or Command plus so that I can zoom in. All right. So the next thing that I want to do, and I told you we're going to get to these drawing sides. If you go down here to the bottom, you guys see that? See where it says drawing modes? It's right below. So this is the fill and stroke. These are the gradient, the fill, and the none. Right below that is drawing modes. So if we click on that and we choose draw behind, what do you think it's going to do? You're right. Any shape that we do is going to draw behind. So if I go here and I choose the star tool and I click behind it, notice it's drawing behind, right? It's drawing behind this shape. Okay. So that's what happens. I'm going to undo. And it draws behind whatever shape that you have selected. Remember, selected to affect it. What I'm going to do now is I'm going to choose draw inside. So what happens with this, which is super cool, be prepared, be afraid, be very afraid. And I'm going to choose the color of, let me go with like I'm going to choose the color of a blue. Maybe I'll choose purple. All right. I'm going to choose the color of purple. So now at this point, I want an ellipse to go kind of like right here and right here. And so now I drew it pretty much inside, and it is inside. But when I selected it, I was on the stroke. Remember I said whatever you want it to affect, you want that to be on top. So I was on the stroke. So what I'm going to do is reverse it. So over here in my tool panel, I can click the swap, fill and stroke. And actually my stroke, I want to be none. So I'm going to make sure I have the stroke selected. And I'm going to choose that slash. And so it's none. So now I've drawn inside of the white eye and I have the purple eye. And I might want to adjust it just a little bit. And I'm gonna, see, I want to bring it down and maybe over. And then I'm happy with that. So I'm going to click on that. Okay. So now I have that drawn inside. So now what I want to do is, ironically, I want to draw inside of the purple ellipse to get the inner eye, right, that I want. So I'm going to, with that one selected, I'm going to choose draw inside mode. Okay, draw inside. Okay, so now I'm drawing inside of this one. And I'm going to choose like a darker purple. And I'm going to go back to the ellipse tool. And I'm going to start drawing out a color. And I'm going to choose my direct selection tool so that I can manipulate this color a little bit. Okay. All right. And so now, if I'm happy with it, I'm going to choose back to draw regular, draw normal. And so now I have my eye, right? So I have this eye that I wanted. And so I can, if I'm happy with that, I can, I'm going to duplicate it. So I'm going to click select the eye. Hang on 1 second. Let me lock down the head. I'm going to select the eye. And I'm going to hold Alt. And I'm going to hold Alt so I get that double-sided arrow. I'm going to hold Shift. And I'm going to drop the other eye. Now it's looking kind of creepy, but that's okay. So you also have options up here. I can go to Object, I can go to Transform, I can go to Reflect if we needed to. And if you reflect it, you can actually hit Preview and the Reflect so that we can see the other eye. And if I like it, if I needed to copy it, you could copy. Like if we did this before, we duplicated it, but in our case, we're good. So I'm gonna hit OK. All right. So now I have the eyes, and maybe I want some. Maybe I want what type of nose do I want? Maybe I want like a pig nose. Matter of fact, I'm gonna change him from yellow because I don't want him to be yellow. I want him to be a different color. So I just selected him and chose a different color. Now, if I wanted to change the color of or manipulate them, notice in my layers panel, I have all these clip groups. Notice that I got clip group, and this is with I can actually change these names. So, and I encourage you guys to do so. So right here where it says path, I'm going to double click and I'm going to say face or head, or I'll say head. It's a head. And then for the clip group, this is the left eye. So I'm going to double click on the word because that's how you do it. And I'm going to choose left eye. And then for the other clip group, double click on the word and I'm going to choose right eye. Okay. And this is, I meant right eye. Okay. And this is just going to help you stay organized when you're designing. And I'm going to also save because I know that we haven't saved. So I'm going to just save as. File, save as, character demo. That's not where I want it. I want it. I'll put in Creative Cloud. FCC. July 2020. I'm just gonna put a folder in there. I'll put demo. I thought I had a folder, but I guess I didn't. All right, demos. And then I'll just hit save. And I'll hit OK. And boom. Okay. So, all right. Because, you just never trust things. You go and you don't save and then craziness happens. All right. So, what was I doing? I was going to do I was saying if you ever want to change, like let's say you weren't happy with these colors and how they're blending well with this color, you can go in here and you can make changes to it. And all you would do is, if it was the eyes, and I go into the clip group and I go to the blue, and if that's what I wanted to change, or if it was this purple that I wanted to change, I could go and I can make whatever changes that I need to make. I actually like that one. Oh, here we go. I can make whatever changes that I want to make as well. And then this is where that group selection one comes in. So instead of having to go through here through my layers panel all the time, if I go to the direct selection arrow and I choose group selection tool, I can actually click and drill down to where it is exactly that I want to go, right? And I clicked on it, and now I can change that color to, I think it was that color. Yeah. So so many options. You have so many options and so many different ways of doing things inside of Illustrator. It's kind of cool. All right. So the next thing that I want to do is I'm going to make a nose. I haven't decided how I want to make this nose. I think I'm going to take a triangle. So the star tool again. Yeah, I'm going to do a triangle. And I'm just going to make it like a rounded triangle. And I'm holding shift. I'm just going to bring this nose out. Okay. And I'm going to, yeah, I'm cool with that. Let me see. Okay. And I'm going to choose the direct selection tool. And these handles right here, let me zoom in. Okay. Notice these little round handles, the little round points. These let you control the corner radius. So if you click on them and hold the mouse and bring it down, you're controlling the roundness at that point. Very cool. I'll do it again just to make sure. If you click on that, you're controlling the roundness of that. So the corner radius of that. What? I know, it is so like awesome. I told you. All right, so I'm gonna choose a color that I like to go with this. Let me see. Zoom out a little bit so I can see. I might be cool with that. I don't want his nose to be too obvious, I guess. Could be orange, could be white, could be yellow, could be, I don't know. Okay. So I'm just gonna go with that for now. All right. So this is his nose. All right. Yep. And if I wanted to add some dimensions to it, I could go over here to my gradient, which works a little bit different than it does in Photoshop. I can go to my gradient tool. I can add a gradient to this. I can, oh my goodness, my phone is going off. It's crazy. I can add a gradient to this, or I can add, where's my tool? Actually, yeah, I can add a gradient to it. Works a little different than it does in Photoshop, whereas in Photoshop, you just pretty much click the gradient and you click and you click. But here, it's a little bit different. We have to actually click on the gradient to activate it. So I have a gradient. I'm going to click here in the center. Right. So I've activated my gradient. I can change the colors. Right. So if I want to change the colors, I can, a few things. I can click on a color and add a color to it. Right. So I can click on the color and add a color. I can click on this one. I can say, well, I don't want it to be white. I kind of want it to be that pinkish color or that orangish color, So you have options. Oops, undo that. You have options. I might click on this one and I might go with a color that's already in there or what have you. But you can also manipulate this, right? So I can move this around. I can say, oh, this is how I want this to be. I can play with the direction of the angles of it. Maybe I want it like that. I can also control all of that in here. I can change the type of gradient to a radial gradient. I can change it to a, what's it called? Freeform gradient. Freeform gradients are pretty cool. They're pretty new. It's where you can you have all control. So I can say, okay, well, I want his nose to be darker down here. I can move these around. Maybe I'll move this one down here because I want it to be darker in this area. And maybe I want this area to be lighter, and maybe I want this to have like the transition like that. Looks like red, white, and blue. That's not what I was going for, but that's what it looks like. Yeah, that's better. So maybe I'll go here, and then maybe here. So Freeform Gradient is awesome. This is everybody's favorite. I have an actual pen on Freeform Gradient right now. But this is the Freeform Gradient, so this is kind of cool. So maybe that's how I want the nose to be. Maybe not. I don't know. I'm just playing, right? So the next thing that I'll do is I'll grab the pen tool. Oh, actually, you know what? Let's do the pencil tool. We haven't done that yet. All right, so I got to go down here to edit toolbar because there's some tools that I want to use that aren't here. So I'm going to go to see how so many tools, right? So many tools you guys have. The knife tool, measure tool, like every tool you can imagine is in here. So just make sure you're not neglecting this as well. But I'm looking for the pencil tool. Shortcut key to the pencil tool is the keyboard letter N as in Nancy, but I see it. Oh, okay. My pencil tool is already in here, but if you don't have a tool, you can grab the tool from here, and you literally are grabbing it and dropping it wherever you want it to go. So I'm going to go here. I'm going to close you. I'm going to go here. Mine is underneath my paintbrush because that's where I put it. Yours might not be, so make sure. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to draw his mouth out. I kind of want him laughing. And I'm just drawing. And that's pretty much it with the pencil tool. I'm just laughing. I'm just drawing. So I'm going to make his mouth this purple. Okay. So I made it purple. And this is his mouth. I kind of want it organic. My shape, just like this head, the head is too perfect right now, but we're just gonna go with it for now. But typically I like organic shapes like this where it's not so perfect, and then sometimes I want perfect. It's so weird. All right, so notice how I have the direct selection tool, and I only have one that needs rounding, and that's because every other corner is already rounded, but this one, it has that sharp corner point. So if I want to bring it in a little bit, I can, and now it's rounded and nothing is super sharp or anything. Okay, and you can manipulate points, same as before. Like if I wanted to get this convert anchor point tool, I could play with, maybe I wanted this mouth to be like that, or such. So you have options that you can do. So hang on, my son came in my room. Nene, love you. Sorry about that. Momentary interruption. But so you have options. You have options of what you want to do, and how you want to manipulate this, right? So if I was like, oh, it's a little bit too sterile, let's make his mouth do all sorts of craziness, you can. So you have options. I just want you to know that. So if I want his mouth to be scalloped like that, I could. I'm going to undo that though, because that's not what I want. But just know that you have those options. I'm going to make sure you know that you have those options as well. So I'm going to go for a gradient. And I don't want those colors because you guys know I just spent time choosing the colors. So, another way you can do this too is to drag and drop the colors over here. I know earlier we just selected it. So you have either way it's going to work for you. Go for it. You're not bound to a certain way. Oops, that was not. Oh, I didn't have one selected. That's why. Okay, let's go back to our gradient and let's click here. And let's maybe go with What is happening? Oh, I think it's because I'm pulling it from there. Maybe it just doesn't want to go. Okay. All right. So you have options as well. And if you wanted your gradient like that, you could. Or if you wanted the gradient to go back to linear, you could. Or if you wanted to be freeform, you could. You know, it's up to you. Nobody's the boss of you. You do what you want. Do what you like. All right. So let me bring this over here. And I'm going to make this one that darker purple. Okay. And maybe I'll bring that, because I think I like the inside of the mouth toward the back. And then maybe this will be that yellow again. I'll bring this over here. And I'll bring this here. Okay. All right, so maybe I'm happy with that. I'm not really, but I'm just gonna go with it. We're gonna pretend that I'm happy with that. As a matter of fact, I don't want a gradient there, so I'm just gonna go back to my purple mouth. Okay. And I'm not really happy with the colors, but we're just going with it for now. So maybe now I want to give him some hair. Oops. Okay. And it looks like they disappeared, but they did not, because if I go to my selection tool and I draw a square, we can see all of the hairs that are there. So it's just that there's no stroke and no fill. Without a stroke and fill, you don't have color, and it's against a white background or any background, it's just going to disappear. So now we have it showing. I'm going to go ahead and give it some, I'm going to go to the properties panel and play with that stroke a little bit. And maybe for these whiskers of the stroke, I might actually go and click on the stroke, and then I might give it rounded, right? Make it rounded so that it's not so sharp, because nothing in here is sharp. That was done on purpose. And what we might do is down here where it says profile, this is where we can play with the profile of the line. So instead of it being just boring and straight and perfect, we can actually change the profile of it so that the ends are like thinner, or it goes thin and then thick, or thin and then thick, and then points and stuff like that. So if I wanted to change it like this, notice right there, they're changing the whiskers, the hair. Or if I wanted to change it to this profile, notice it's thin, then thick, then thin, then thick. So whatever profile you like, go for it. This has always been my favorite, so this one I'll do. But if I wanted to do that, I have it. And I actually want to make the stroke of his face a little bigger. I want to go back and I want to put that stroke on the outside, right? When we talked about this earlier. And I'm going to also make sure that it's rounded, which it is. But I'm going to, let's see. All right, but if I try to change the width profile, notice I can't change it on this one. And that could be because it's a perfectly closed. But we'll see. We'll see. I do want to change that color, that darker purple. I'm not gonna make anything black. This is darker purple. Okay, sweet. All right. So he's got some little whiskers, and maybe I'll change these whiskers. But what I'm gonna use this as, I'm gonna make the middle thicker, and these two on the outside, I'm gonna make thinner. So the middle is a 7 point. I'm gonna make this a 5 point, and I might make this one a 5 point as well. And actually, I might change the color. So I have these outer ones that are, I'm gonna change the color of each one. So I'm gonna bring this down. I'm gonna make sure that the stroke is selected, it's out front, and I'm gonna change these colors just a bit. So I'm gonna make that one blue, and then so the first one's purple. So maybe I'll make this one like a violet. Okay, so with these three colors, I'm gonna select all three. Okay, because now what we're going to do is we're going to blend these three colors together, because blends allow us to do some really, really cool things. So not blend mode like in Photoshop, blends. Blends, we're going to actually be blending shapes. So I'm going to go over here to the blend tool. You guys see it, it's right there. And I'm going to click it. And now I get this little icon, right? It's showing you like a triangle, and it's kind of blending to disappearing. I'm going to click on one. Then I'm gonna click on the other, and then I'm gonna click on the other. Now notice I did this blend, and it's blending this color to this color, and then it's blending this color to this color, okay, while combining all. But I have other options. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna double click on the blend tool. I just double clicked it, and then it comes up with these blend options. Now I can hit preview so that we can see what's happening. Right now it's set to smooth color. I can click on that and I can do specified steps or specified distance. What we're gonna deal with is specified steps. You can do either one you want. So specified steps is showing it in one step. You guys see that? I can actually choose a different, like I can choose 7 and hit tab, and then you'll see that it's going in 7 steps, okay? I can also highlight that number and just hit the up arrow, and we'll see a blend start to take place very interestingly, okay? Now mind you, this taxes your computer like crazy, so just keep that in mind. It is using a lot of your memory, so you might not want to get crazy with it. But it's just another way, instead of me having to put in all those whiskers, I can actually just do it through a blend. So I'm just going to choose 3 because 3 seems pretty okay. I'm going to choose another tool, and I'm going to maybe put this in place a little bit. Might shrink it down some. And see where it works, okay? So I just made him some hair, just a little patch, little cool hair. He's kind of cool. And so there I have pretty much my character. I haven't done a body or anything. You guys will do your body, but hopefully you've started on your face and you have your face ready. And I think we went over everything that I want to go over with you today. Let me see. Fill a stroke, gonna fill a stroke, direct selection tool, the panels, the workspace, the swatches, the gradient. Let me see. Vector shapes, which we created when we did the circle and the triangle and the star. Let's see. Drawing with the pen tool. Yep, we pretty much went over everything that I wanted to go over with you guys today in order for you to get started on your character. One other thing I do want to go over. Let me go up to, if you wanted to choose, like, let's say you wanted a pattern or something in here. So we're gonna go to Window. We're gonna go down to Swatches. Not creating a pattern. I'm drawing a blank. I don't know why. Oh, it's already okay. It's already here. All right. So swatches, and when we're in the swatches panel, notice there's some other options in here. Like there's this gold dust and blue sky and jive, and these are default. But what they are is, if you click on them, you're actually changing. Let me do it to where it's not the stroke. I'm gonna do it on the fill. Make sure the fill's in front. You're choosing a different pattern, right? So you're pretty much changing. I kind of like this, so that might be my character, pattern face. But you can choose these different options in here that are preset for you. And if you want to explore a little more, you can go out to this drop down menu, and then you can go to Open Swatch Library, and then it's going to give you other patterns that you can choose. So you can go down to patterns, basic, all of this stuff in here, definitely play with, because there's a lot of stuff in here that's pretty cool. Just make sure you don't overdo it and get crazy. But you have basic dots, lines, textures, you have decorative, legacy decorative, monster patterns, which are pretty cool. nature animal skins, nature foliage. So you have all these other ones to play with. So I definitely encourage you to play. But let's say you wanted lines. Lines are like my favorite thing to design with. I love a line. You wanted lines, and then you chose like something like this or something like that or something like that if you wanted grids or stuff. But you have options in here to play with and take your design to the next level. Another thing, since we're talking about lines, is the line tool. So I do want to go over that just a little bit. Let me go to the shape line tool. So this is your line tool, and you're just drawing lines, you know what I mean? And then you can compare the lines. So I once had a student who did his whole drawing in lines, and then he just took the two lines, the two edges when he was done, and he would select them with the selection tool, and he would join them. He would hit Command J, and that was his. I kid you not, the entire time he did that. Now I don't necessarily encourage it, but he was creating some really really cool stuff with just lines. So then I said, oh, well, the line tool is pretty important, you know what I mean? But if you can't get it done and you're like, oh my gosh, try that line tool out and see what happens. See how, what type of shapes, what type of interesting things you come up with. And while I was doing this, I thought of something else. I try to give you guys as much as I can so that you can run, with this. But in any event, let's just pretend that this is where we are. I'm going to go back to my pattern because I don't want to save that. Let's just pretend this is where we are. And then we hit File, Save. But then we wanted to export and get it ready to send because I need the AI file, which is the Illustrator file, and I need a PNG. So similar to Photoshop, the same way. We'll go to File, we'll go to Export. We can go to Export for Screens, or we can go to Export As. If you go to Export for Screens, you're going to get this dialog box, and you can name your character as well. Like if you can name it right in here by clicking. But we can go to one time, or 2 time, or 3 times. For your PNG, for me, let's do 2 time or 3 time. Either one's gonna work. You can also add scales. So if you wanted to do 1 time, 2 time, 3 time, and 4 time, you can do that as well. And you just add the scale, and it'll add to that. You say where you want it to save at, right? So you tell it that, hey, I want this to save here. Since I made that FCC folder, it's saving in demo. Sweet. You can choose assets. And this is where you would just drag and drop your assets right into this panel if you wanted to, or what have you. But if you choose Artboards, then it's going to bring the whole artboard. If you choose asset, it's going to bring the assets. So it's up to you. However you want to do it, you can click on this and it'll take you to the panel where you can do that. And then once you are ready, so once you add scale, let me do 2. And then let me do format artboards. Okay. And then once I'm ready, I can choose export artboard. And then it's going to export it. And then it opens up instantly to show you, hey, this is your artboard. So what you're going to give me is going to be this PNG. And you go ship, and it's going to be that AI file. So both of those are what you're going to upload to me into Blackboard. And then you'll be set. So have fun, play with the character thing. I'm not looking for perfection. I'm looking for something that shows that you tried, right? And that you're learning the techniques and you're learning the tools, okay? So, and also something that doesn't look like you rushed and just like do something together, okay? Something that takes thought. Design is fun. It can be awesome. I try to make sure that we have the most fun projects. But I need you guys to work a little bit too, all right? So I look forward to seeing what type of characters you guys come up with. You can always look at references online, like cartoons. I always search things like cartoon characters, or if you wanted to do, was that sugar candy or skull candy or things like that. apples, you know, and make it look an apple head, you know, or orange face and things like that. But I always look at different characters, and then I just go from there. So hopefully this video helps you guys. I also uploaded some other videos up there too. So go have fun in design, guys. I'll see you guys later. Thanks.